It's all right. Doesn't matter. We're live on YouTube right now. Usually I don't have to manually push the go live button, so that's good to know. I don't know if something changed, but doesn't matter. Okay, so there's a little bit off the top on the YouTube version of this episode. I'm fine with that. Welcome everybody to the show. I am hoping that you have had a nice, relaxing week. And because I don't know. How can you not feel it? How can you not feel it? There's excitement. There's nervousness. Everybody is confident about something. Everybody is insecure about something else. It's there's a lot of strange things going on here tonight. But in the first half, we have Rich Baris coming on. We have Shawn Farash of the Ungoverned podcast coming on. It's the first time he's been on the show. Been waiting a long time for this. It's a perfect night for that. Even if you're not watching on YouTube, you should definitely go over to YouTube and vote. I have a poll up that is in the chat room right now. It's very simple. It's who will win when all is said and done? Trump, Harris, or I don't know, Frank, hold me. So far, 75% says Trump, 3% says Harris, and 22% of people just want to be held. I'll tell you, I want to give out some hugs too. So there you just some people just want to get held right now. And that's what you have. I have a plug, and that is Blue Monster Prep. Actually, all of our friends on QuiteFrankly.tv, the affiliates page, are great to go check out. But listen, this is the kind of thing that you buy and you prepare through Blue Monster Prep. This is the kind of thing you prepare for, because God knows what's on the other side of the next 72 hours or so. And I don't know. It's just good to have some insurance. All types of insurance. Go check them out. Give them a call. Pat and Gina, they'll help you out. As long as the trucks, there are still trucks on the road, I'm sure they can get something to you in time. But still, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It'll be a good one tonight. Tomorrow, we are going to be going live at 8 p.m. Not 7, 8 p.m., and we're going to midnight. In studio, I'm going to have Jay Gulanello hanging out. John Carroll is going to be hanging out. My friend Christian and Stephanie are going to be walking around. I'm sure they'll come in and out. Anthony's going to be here. I think his girlfriend is going to come by as well. People just going to be milling around. There is a chance that Chrissy Mayer might stop by. I sent an invite by them, and they actually seem pretty receptive. That would be cool if she stopped by. But also calling in all throughout the night. We should get a call from Tracy at some point. We should be talking to Matt Christensen at some point for a little bit. Adel and Zach, Red Pill 78. We should be able to get a simulcast going on with them. I hope I can get Rich to call us, to talk to us at like 11:30 p.m. for 5 to 10 minutes. Talk about what he's seeing, what has gone right, what has gone unexpected, what has gone sideways. Who the hell knows? Seriously, who the hell knows? It is such a strange thing. And again, you think about our lives 4 years ago. I'm thinking about the people who are around, who are not here anymore. What has happened to us over the last 4 years in our personal lives, in what we've shared together and experienced together and like perceived? So much has changed, and I can't believe it's another cycle. I was even telling Aurora today. I said, Aurora, the last time Election Day rolled around, you were 2 months old. You were a little toothless gummy bear. You were a toothless little gummy bear. She goes, what was I doing? I said, well, actually, the day Election Day, we were putting up the Christmas tree. Your mother and your aunt were decorating the Christmas tree in the living room. Everybody was just trying to do something that made them feel good, take their mind off of the craziness of what was going on. Daddy was doing shows and all that stuff in the basement where my computer was at the time, because you had just recently taken over my office. We made it into your bedroom. She goes, what else was I doing? I said, nothing. You were sleeping, eating, and pooping. That's all 2-month-old babies do. And she started laughing at that. And now it's just, I'm having full-blown conversations about the world with this kid. And this is 4 years later, and it's just, it's dizzying what has changed. So much has changed. But we'll see what we can do tonight to keep our spirits high. I'm good with that. And forward we go. Oh, one real quick thing. I'll be the November sponsorship special. We're going to be focusing in on the Polaroid Club. We have 15 Polaroids and on Patreon and 12 Polaroids on Subscribestar, all open. And for 27 people out there, I would love to get people into those Polaroid sponsors. You get every month you get a one-of-a-kind physical photo sent to you. Me doing something ridiculous. Aurora makes appearances. The cat makes appearances. It's very seasonal. But we'll get you stickers as well. We'll get you a Christmas bookmark so you're ready for all the book club stuff in 2025. And I'm working on a deal where we can get you a sample bag of coffee as well. Also, there are only 8 mugs left in stock. And I'm sorry, I had a very bad planning error. We should have had more on hand for the holiday shopping season, but I did not do it. So I'm going to start designing a new mug for 2025, but we only have 8 left. We only have 8 left. So if you wanted to get one for your, frankly, in your life for Christmas, there's only 8 mugs left. Sorry about that, but you can start getting your coffee for your stockings and stuff like that. I'll think better next time. All right, into the grab bag we go. First one up is this mug. It's Kamala Harris, and she was asked if she voted, how she voted on Prop 36. It's a California bill, as N Wokeness says, to increase the sentence for drug trafficking and theft. So it increases criminal penalties for certain drug and theft crimes, and I think it has a lot to do with the smash and grab robberies that are going on out there, and a lot of fentanyl related issues. Well, she was asked how she voted on it, whether she was for punishing criminals or not, and she demurred. What do you know?
Madam Vice President, have you returned the ballot to California, and how did you vote on Prop 36?
So my ballot is on its way to California, and I'm going to trust the system that it will arrive there. And I am not going to talk about the vote on that because, honestly, it's the Sunday before the election, and I don't intend to create an endorsement one way or another around it.
What?
You don't want to make an endorsement during endorsement season. Or you don't want the last thing that Californians hear from you before Election Day is that you voted against adequate punishment for serious crime. I wonder what it is. I don't want to cause any chaos out there with an endorsement as they trot out every downtrodden celebrity on the planet Earth to make endorsements. Brands be damned. Social cohesion be damned. Just doesn't want to mess anything up there. So that's it. And this is the behavior, by the way, that Kamala Harris was bailing out in 2020 in Tim Walz's Minnesota, especially the kind of behavior there, smash and grabs and things like that. But see, they still feel shame. That's what I get away from this. I take that away from this. They still feel shame. I think they understand what shameful behavior is. It's just that when you and I feel shame, it usually makes us think twice about doing something that is beneath us. Usually. Sometimes we have self-control problems. We all do. But the thing is that when they identify shameful behavior, they do things like they alter their approach to doing the shameful thing in order not to trigger any alarms in people who are about to get shafted by their plans. You know, that's why they created a whole new set of terms to describe what abortion is and what the whole damn thing's about. And anywho, one of those drones who took all of the, I don't know who the hell this girl is. I don't know who she is. Chloe Grace Moretz announces that she's gay amid a Kamala Harris endorsement. So she got the twofer down. She got the twofer. The government has no right over my body. She opened up about her sexuality as she endorsed Kamala Harris for president. It's all about abortion. Now, I don't know who this uninteresting plank of wood is, but she could have at least let everyone know how she plans on getting pregnant. Could she? I wish she could have gone in on that. Is Donald Trump going to assign a man to her if he wins? No, she's standing in solidarity with all women, Frank. Don't be obtuse. Anyway, speaking of lesbians, man, what sad things have happened to Bon Jovi. I mean, I know that he's been having a lot of trouble with his voice. I've heard about that, and his touring days are probably over. But he came out to perform and endorse the Harris campaign, and he probably should have just stayed home. Take a listen to this. He was they're singing a little bit of "Living on the Prayer," but I guess it's reimagined because he can't really belt anything anymore. And it's still bad.
We gotta hold on, you ready or not? You live for the fight when it's all that you got.
RFK Jr. could have done a better job singing this. It's bad. It's sad.
You don't say, oh, we're halfway there.
Yeah, we're halfway there, all right. I'm halfway to the bathroom. That's what I am. Halfway to the bathroom. Speaking of October surprises, though, we were talking about it on Friday night. The whole Peanut the Squirrel thing. You've seen it all over the place now. We read about the legal situation. Well, we watched the news story about the legal situation the first half of the Friday night show. And then by the end of the Friday night show is when the news came in that the squirrel and Fred the raccoon had been euthanized by the state of New York. And that is the October surprise. That is what has come down. That's what it comes down to it. But it wasn't even October. This was it. I knew at that point that Peanut and Fred were going to be fast-tracked into the pantheon of meme deities. The Prince of Princes being Harambe, of course. But the timing is just perfect. Listen, I told you many times, it would be impossible to stress the importance of the meme magic, the memetics of Harambe, Pepe, and the uncovering all the strings and all of the synchronicities with the god Kek prior to 2016 in the lead up to that election. There is no way. We know what happened, but it would be impossible to stress to most people, Gen X and older, as to how important that was to propelling Donald Trump into the White House. Cosmically important. Now, do not count out the meme magic power of this squirrel and this raccoon. Don't count it out. I know. I heard yesterday afternoon somebody said, Frank, you know that the owner of the squirrel has an OnlyFans. I don't know if he's gay or whatever, but he puts his ass out there or something like that. It's like, no, I didn't know that. Thanks for telling me. But as far as the squirrel goes, do not count him out, because you have no clue how powerful a thing that is. It moves the needle. It really does. It really does. You know, Elon Musk put this out here. Something else that I forgot about last year. The hammer of justice is coming, Elon Musk said, as he retweets Rothmus, who goes back in time to 2023 when we read about how John Podesta's friend, here's the headline, who debunked Pizzagate because he was the editor-in-chief at the recount at the time. Slade Somer, arrested for abusing toddlers and admitting to much more on Telegram and all that other stuff. Very interesting timing of this whole thing. And this would be a nice February surprise, though. That would be a nice February surprise. Start rounding people up. The debunker. I mean, just think about it. One of the people who debunked Pizzagate got picked up for savagely abusing toddlers. I mean, what more do you need to know? What more do you need to know, my friends? Anyway, let's get this one started. Rich Baris is going to be here in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's run!
But I want to, hey, sneaker pimps, man. When was the last time you listened to Six Underground? When was the last time? Tonight. That's what you got. Hey, I got to say, right, first and foremost, if you are a monthly sponsor, the November edition of the Quite Frankly Bulletin, it was delivered to you this morning. If you're not a monthly sponsor and you want more information, let me know, because new sponsors not only get all the current perks, but you get the entire archive of newsletters given to you. And also in December, we've decided to make that edition public to everybody. You got to see how amazing it is. You have to see how amazingly put together it is. This is not just some crummy blog. I promise you, it is a fantastic piece of work, and it's a collaborative work headed up by Krista Roman. Lauren is there piecing it all together. They really communicate and worked well. John Carroll is a big part of it too. This month, we've got a lot. We've got a lot behind the scenes from Yankee Stadium, my mother and I. We've got got so much, including a spot from Rich Baris about the popular vote, about dark horse states that might go one way or another. Quitting Communism Cold Turkey by John Carroll. It's a great Thanksgiving piece. There is a special interview with Tony Black in here. Then I did an interview. I cut it up and we included it in there. The fan features are fantastic. We have an interview that Krista did with Rick Ruiz. That's Miami Rick, the 747 pilot. It's called A View from Above. And I really just encourage you all, especially everybody on Patreon. I saw that I posted this at 9 o'clock this morning, and at 5 o'clock, there was only 21 impressions. 21 people have looked at it. I mean, this is a primo publication. Please go check out the Patreon. I don't know if the notifications are off. There's always something off with these platforms, but just wanted to bring it to your attention, especially Rich Baris's spot. A big one indeed. A big one indeed. Oh, and tonight, when Rich is on with us, we may be getting a very special call. I don't know, sometime toward the tail end of our call. So we'll see if that comes through. I hope it does. But, it's 7:18, and let's give America's #1 pollster a call, because I need to just get him on the phone and get this night going.
Frank.
Richard?
Frankie boy.
Oh, how are you, man?
Living the dream, my friend. Living the dream.
Oh, yes.
How about you?
Oh, I'm good. And listen, this headshot that Laura gave me, very dapper.
I told you. It's not something everybody aspires to be, but I'm the grandchild of mobsters. I embrace it. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing all right. The first thing I think about is just I know how Santa and his elves, I know what they're doing on December 23rd to prepare for delivery night on Christmas Eve. But what is Rich and Laura Baris doing tonight?
Tonight, this is, more on a serious note. We packaged everything up so we could give it to our community, our online community on locals. And at this point, we did the final show, What Are the Odds, right, earlier today. All we can do is honestly try to decompress, ignore the noise, play a little game here and there, when we see people write something. have to follow the early vote. There were some states with some updates, But really the best you can do, Frank, is that, you did the best you could do. And now it's in the hands of the voters, and we wait. And you have to try to deal with that.
Yeah. Oh, and I know after everything is said and done, I would say about a week and a half from now, when there are no more questions left as to what we're going to be made to live through, that's just it. One way or another, one side is going to have to swallow a bitter pill about a week and a half from now. That will be done. And then from there, it really is just going to be I think a mixture of planning for the future and also finding that focus on regaining and maintaining control over our lives, which everybody is living a very, very short span of time on this earth. And this horrible rat race that we are mired in is designed to take away precious months and years, man. It really is. We have to find a way to get back to that after this is done.
Amen. Well said. I feel like we live pole to pole. And I've been trying to tell people that, polls are not gospel. The gospel is the gospel. Find something that you can do with yourself that I'm not saying politics doesn't matter, right? I'm not saying it's not important. It is. But do not let this consume and kill you. And I have to be honest with you guys. Let's say Trump wins tomorrow, okay? Or Wednesday morning, whatever it may be, or Thursday, right? Maybe we're waiting on Nevada to break a stalemate, and we're waiting on to see if Trump's margin holds, because it will almost certainly be ahead as those last-minute ballots come in. As we're waiting to do that, I'm not saying it doesn't matter, but what are you going to do with the time after, right? We're heading into the holiday season. There has to be something that has a little bit more meaning in our life, Frank, right? And, let's say he wins, right? Then great. And if you're a Trump supporter, you're going to love it. If you're not, you're going to hate it. But I do think that there are two scenarios that could play out here. And one is, if he wins, they're going to drive you nuts until January 25th. Are you going to let them ruin your holidays?
No.
Are they going to let... right. This is where we're headed, though. And I really have been trying to prepare my audience for this, because there will be, if Trump wins, a mass mental breakdown. If it was to go the other way, right? Then there will be, no doubt, election suits, and, it'll drag on for a little bit, but we'll all move on. Regardless whether you want Trump or Harris to win or lose, whether, have you prepared yourself for this extended duration of nonsense, and have you left room for yourself to just enjoy your family and your holidays moving forward? I really hope you have.
Yep.
Because I'm telling you, there are rocky months ahead, and I think they're rockier. And I don't say this as a reason not to vote for Trump. The bottom line is, to hell with it. They have to learn to live with laws, and they don't. And that has been a major problem in our country. Mm-hmm. They didn't live with the loss when Gore lost. They didn't live with the loss when Kerry lost. They tried to not seat Bush again for a second term. They tried to, it's amazing considering January 6th, but they objected to his electors in Ohio and in California. Barbara Boxer tried to not allow the guy to serve a second term. They're going to do this. And I want you to be prepared mentally and physically for that. And I don't want you to just be consumed by it. Of course, don't give up. And push forward with your beliefs and advancing those beliefs. But understand it's not worth what's really important in this world. And you need to make sure that you understand that.
Yeah. No, and I have questions in the second half to pose to the audience about that very same thing. What is your approach after winning? And after losing? The other thing there, too, seriously, what do you do the day after you win? Do you take your foot off the gas? Or you continue to try to improve yourself? On the flip side, there's the loss. What do you do? There's so much good stuff out there. But in the meantime, we do have to make our way through a hurricane a cyclone of numbers and probabilities. And I want to ask you a few things. You're talking about gospel before. Well, there are a lot of people out there preaching very, very confidently. We have the Michael Moores that are guaranteeing that it's going to be a gigantic sweep by Kamala. We have Trump camp people, on the other hand, who are feeling so good about things that they're promising the popular vote is in play. Everyone is promising a landslide, and well, there's a lot of people promising landslides in one direction or another. And I just gotta say, I felt this when it comes to landslides, Rich. I felt this in 2020 that it would be that way, and we saw that Trump picked up so much more support than they did in any other incumbent along the way. But of course, something else was at play, and I see he's only grown more popular since then. But despite all of the fortification and all of the desperation at play, you would think that landslide would be reflected in the polls. Does it get is it just not, is it really that close of a race, or is it like hidden in the details?
Well, you guys are going to hate this answer, but it is the true answer. Even in my own polling, and I projected Trump would win in 2016, I projected that and people know this, I mean, if you look at my polling, I did project that he would lose. It was likely he was going to lose. It was just that it was very close, and I was not certain that he was going to lose because it looked like he had a hidden vote. And Wisconsin, for instance, our final was like Biden +2. We modeled it to Democratic, so it wasn't surprising to me that Biden barely get out. But I got to tell you, in the last two cycles, there was a social bias, which is like a textbook social bias, that I think does hinder us from capturing the man's true vote. And I really do. And that is when people think I won't be invited to a party, or maybe my boss won't give me a promotion if I openly support this guy, and my friends won't like me as much because I live in a certain social circle. That's a true social bias. This time, Frank, is something a little different, and it's a little bit more sinister, and it concerns me, actually, which is there are people who are telling us, hey, are you recording this call? Who are you? What's your firm again? By the way, am I going on a list? All right, why? Because, I don't know, they want to put the party's nominee in jail for the rest of his life until he dies?
No.
Because they've arrested grandmothers and grandfathers and hauled them off to jail because a man died who was suffering from cancer without his cancer medications in the D.C. jail. I don't know. Could be any one of those. The truth is, I don't think we're going to get in a presidential cycle. I don't, for a number of reasons, and we could spend hours talking. I just gave you one because I've been thinking about it a lot in the last 48 hours, and I went over a transcript in my head from one of the agents, and I thought to myself, if there's a huge miss, this may be why. But there are a number of other reasons. Everyone has been cute and talking about whether pollsters may have overcorrected. We heard this in 2016. They said they corrected. They didn't. The miss in 20 was even worse, and it was worse in some of these other areas. Let me just say this. In 2016, it was close. There was a certain group who was tired of the same old choices, and in the end, they went for Trump. In 20, it was hard. It was COVID, and you had to find the guy's support. It was a little bit more difficult, but am I representing all these other groups? This year, not hard to find a support. It's not. That being said, I still don't think from the media, from the public pollsters, you have to understand what incentivizes Nate Cohen at the New York Times. Is it to drop a Harris +1 in a certain state she absolutely needs to give them hopium, while all the while writing in a footnote that Republicans didn't even participate this time in his poll? Doesn't that allow him to skate by like the coward he is? So I could say, if I was wrong, I was still in my sampling era. I don't think we're going to get a year anytime in the near future where there's a Republican landslide coming, and they're going to say it, and the polls are going to reflect it.
It'll just be a surprise.
And others who try, Frank, it's not going to happen. Right. Not anytime soon.
So really polling, and I mean, I don't know how many times you and I have talked about this, where you lament the state of your profession. It really is just it's just a weapon. It's just a firewall. It's a tool. It's not in many ways a very well-honored scientific indicator of where hearts and minds are. It's really just a psychological warfare weapon.
Well, let me put it this way, because I don't want it to be understood like that. It's easy to take the easy road out. It stares you in the face and it incentivizes you to do so. But at the same time, remember 6 months ago, Biden was just getting killed in the polls. I'm telling you, if you and I were talking tonight on the eve of Election Day and Biden was still the nominee, the polls would be close. And in fact, I actually think that Biden probably would have done better than Kamala Harris among certain white, working class voters. Think Scranton, Pennsylvania. He's Scranton Joe, right? Erie County. They could deal with this guy, even though he was senile. They could jive with him, and it would have been a close election, and we still wouldn't have been able to honestly gauge if we tried. And many of us are trying. I'm just telling you that the industry itself, unfortunately, there's a lot of problems.
Okay, so
all we can do is try to give you the best, gauge that we can, and the rest of these indicators probably have more predictive value at this point.
All right, so then let me ask you about early voting. Then I want to ask specifically about Iowa, and then we'll keep moving. Early voting, are these? It's something I just thought of yesterday. Is early voting? As the night presses on tomorrow, we get how much percentages in, exactly where the shares of the votes are going to who. Are these actually measurable right now? Are they tallied as they are collected, or is tallying being done tomorrow? Like how do we know where early voting is shading right now? Is this all being tabulated as they go along, or they have to? Is it just estimates? What?
Yeah, that's a great question. And honestly, when you see the estimate tomorrow that says, X number for each candidate, and then, estimated reported in some states, and it really does depend on the state and their law. In some states, it will be an estimate, and we don't totally know what's still outstanding. Like, for instance, in Pennsylvania, we know how many requests went out. We know for an absentee ballot, for instance. And we know how many have been returned by then. And we use that and what has been returned since then as kind of an estimate as to what is still outstanding or what could be returned. Each state is a little bit different. In Nevada, we have an idea of how many absentee ballots are still requested, what needs to come in. We know what came in over the last 14 days or so. So it is, look, it's not like it was, Frank, when we were, watching Mitt Romney versus Barack Obama, or Trump versus Clinton. It is different. It's not, as much of a Wild West free-for-all the way it was in 2020, because a lot of states taken over by Republicans. You have Kemp in Georgia, Lombardo in Nevada. There was a bad adverse ruling, in my opinion, in Nevada. But in so many of those other states, huge win for election integrity in Pennsylvania. We will have a better understanding of what is still outstanding in the early vote. Now, as you see the early vote numbers reported, there are North Carolina, Nevada, Pennsylvania, Arizona. That is actual numbers that have been returned so far, and we know what those are. But I'm just trying to prepare people, because in most of these states, like Pennsylvania, we're going to get the numbers of the ballots that have been returned so far. We're going to get those reported. They're going to be counted, tallied, and reported first. Then we'll get the election day numbers, and then there will be some late arriving ballots that will trickle in after. Nothing like 2020, but every state is a little different. It does depend on their law. But people like me are literally sitting there with spreadsheets, and we're looking at what's been returned, how much was actually requested, what's outstanding. So we do have a pretty good idea.
Okay.
I'll be honest with you, Frank. 2020, it was like Wyatt Earp trying to run into Dodge City. It was changed every 2 seconds. It was totally off the wall. Just,
Okay.
Incoherent. It's not like that this time. Not totally.
Well, then I guess that's I would say that's a slightly better news than I was expecting. Here's a big one from over the weekend. You were talking about whether it be Trump or Biden or Kamala Harris or Biden or whatever. The polls would probably be reflecting the same, and hopium and this and that. Can you explain what happened in Iowa? Because I went on Twitter and everybody's screaming about Iowa. I saw a lot of Democrat hopefuls saying, "Wow, I didn't see this coming," and I saw screenshots of Iowa where Kamala Harris is polling at 47% and Trump's at 44%. And this is a place where I think he won by what, 10 points in 2020. What happened there, and why are people still talking about this being a bellwether for a massive Democrat landslide?
All right. Well, the People's Pundit forecast on the Seltzer poll is as follows. Ann Seltzer is 92% likely to make a complete ass of herself tomorrow night. All right?
Okay.
I've been doing this with Ann Seltzer for years, trying to show people legitimate results in Iowa. Barnes, he did it right today on one of the odds. I have long defended her. I have long tried to, because you have to understand, I'm 43 years old. When I was coming up, and I was young getting into this, Ann was a trailblazer. I loved this woman and some of the methods that she deployed and how she went against the grain. She was very clearly always a Democrat, but it didn't matter. And she did what she did. She was highly respected, and she would win, man, when everybody else would lose. But unfortunately, there's been a pattern of behavior in recent years that deeply, deeply concerns me. And look, folks, for those of you who don't know the backstory, you've been watching Frank, maybe you don't know this. I knew about the Ann Seltzer poll days before it was coming out. I also knew when Ann spiked a poll before the Democratic caucus that showed Biden was in fourth place at the behest of the Biden campaign, which they then made Pete Buttigieg a foil for. And he was happy to be, because he thought he might win it. So he didn't want the poll to come out to show Bernie was actually up. Pete Buttigieg, by the way, went on to falsely claim that he won that election, and he did not. But it didn't matter, because it did its role as a psyop, and he was able to claim that, move on to New Hampshire, and blunt Bernie's momentum. And then fast forward, it was just a month before they threw Biden out, which I knew that Ann was holding on to a poll that showed Biden was down by nearly 20 points in Iowa. She did not release it until a month later, 2 weeks after I accused her of holding on to it. And it showed that Biden was down. But shocker, Harris was doing better. Better get rid of Biden. Listen, in case you guys didn't follow along with that rant, not ethical or appropriate behavior for a pollster.
Okay.
And I wouldn't know all of this, and I didn't know all of this, because everybody around her was super happy with her behavior. What I have heard, and I'm just going to say it now, is that Ann Seltzer, something broke in her brain during January 6th, and she has lost her objectivity. But because she has the reputation she has, nobody is afraid, or nobody feels comfortable. They're afraid to go to the people at the Des Moines Register or go anywhere else and say, I have concerns about Ann's objectivity, because they feel like they're going to be fired on the spot if they do it. That's the most cynical way for me to explain the Des Moines Register poll.
Okay.
The nice way, where I still give Ann the benefit of the doubt, is that 20% or so of Republicans are simply just not answering phones in the last 10 days. And maybe she hit that, Frank, and it was a response bias. Because my running hypothesis is that they already voted, so maybe this year they don't care anymore.
Right.
But there has been a deep a response bias that's been plaguing us for the better part of 2 weeks almost.
Okay. All right. So then there's that. I have a question. This is over. I saw somebody publish an opinion on Twitter about how Trump, was not spending who was spending the last few days in North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Georgia, not because he was worried about losing, but that he wanted to run up the score so that the media would have no choice but to call it early. That he's actually doing very well in these three states, even though today liberals are taking a victory lap because whatever venue he was speaking at was only 70% full on 10 o'clock on a Monday morning. But what are you seeing at North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Georgia? Do you think that this is a you think it's in the bag or nowhere near?
Well, nothing's ever in the bag.
Right.
And all of these numbers and these projections are absolutely predicated on the fact that Republicans and what we know is outstanding and still on the table for them get out to vote in the way they have done in the past. Now, the numbers change because people voted early, so it's not going to be the same. It's not going to be a 35-point margin on Election Day, but, will be a 15-point, 12 to 16 ballpark. They have to get out and vote, though. Look, I don't buy that, that excuse that I just heard. I think what really is more likely to have happened, and I'm being facetious here, I actually know exactly what happened. Michael Whatley was the chairman of the Republican committee in, the North Carolina GOP. He is now the chair of the RNC, and he absolutely must deliver his state for Donald Trump or his job is gone. So understand, if he doesn't whisper in Trump's ear and the people around Trump that, hey, we should go back to North Carolina. There's been concern over the hurricane. There is an issue with early voting that message did not reach some of the western counties that are deeply red. They're not voting like the Georgia deep red counties are early, and that's because the message didn't reach them with the weather. But that being said, too, there's also one of those stops, one of the big ones, that is overlapping with some of the other areas that he wants to hit. And then there's the less nice way to put this, which is that Donald Trump has been fooled into going back in North Carolina twice. It's not Donald Trump. It's the people around him. They're not as smart as they think they are. And in North Carolina, it was like Trump +4 2 weeks before the election, yet they hung around there because they fell for the media dupe. And then in 2020, same thing. It was closer, but like Iowa, North Carolina, and Ohio were not like necessary spots to stop. It was probably better to spend his time in Pennsylvania. He's in a position now where, to hell with Salem, Virginia. Frank, go to Minnesota. You have Somali community leaders who vote together as communities, going out there and saying, we don't love Trump, but we're going to tell our community to vote for him because of the Abraham Accords, and he'll sue for peace. Are you really willing to bank everything on North Carolina? Because the Harris campaign it was really a narrative war into effect. If Harris's campaign allowed the narrative to get out that she had no path through the Sun Belt and had no Sun Belt states that she could carry, then it would deeply, deeply hurt her. So she had to do that. And unfortunately, Republicans fall for a lot of this stuff. And it allowed her to focus on the Midwest while they duped the right into thinking there was a Sun Belt issue. Okay. I got to tell you, Frank, we just pulled North Carolina. We pulled out of it 4 days ago. 51.1 to 47.1. And it was almost identical to this. I'm not going to blow him up or anything, but he's a staple in North Carolina politics. Everybody knows who he is. He's a great old school pollster. By Wednesday, this guy was like, she has no chance in North Carolina. So, I mean, sometimes narrative wins over reality. And I get you want to go out and shore up that early vote. I get it. And Republicans need to vote tomorrow in North Carolina. But I'm just saying it wasn't or should not have been, given a priority the way it was. Okay. In my opinion.
And because you believe that it's actually going to be won soundly, but not based
He's
on
crushing her with 2-1.
Crushing. Okay.
He's at 13% of the black vote. He's only behind with women by 5 points. Democrats are significantly below their 2020 early vote targets, and independents are even, who are currently more of their plurality and the largest of the early vote so far.
Okay.
He would absolutely crash her if we counted the votes right now in the early vote.
Well, then let's say that'll be something to look at for tomorrow. Now, Rich, within the next minute or so, we should be getting a special caller that's going to join us for a few seconds. And whenever the hell that happens, we'll just cut over to that. And I'd love to come back and ask you about a couple of dark horse state candidates. I know that, in the piece that you submitted for the Bulletin today, you talked about a few dark horse states that may shock people that are in play right now. We're not going to talk about those, but I did want to ask you, and maybe we can talk about this just until our guest shows up. What about New Jersey? We're coming off of a couple of years worth of massive Trump rallies over there. A few states. Hold on, Rich. I think our special guest caller is here. Let me take this. Hold on one second. Hello, is this Mr. President? Is that you?
Of course it is. You know, we're talking. We wanted to call it. You know, we're getting ready for our final rally in the great state of Michigan, which they call the Mitten, not to be confused with Mittens. So we call him Mittens. It's Mitt Romney. He's a guy. I just have to say this, by the way. He is a guy. The rumors are true. He sits when he pees. You know that? They call him Sits Romney. That's what they call him. Sits. Instead of Mitt, they call him Sit Romney because he sits when he pees. And he's not the only senator, by the way, who does that. Chuck Schumer and Lindsey Graham also do that. But Chuck Schumer, I want to say this, you know, I was just at Madison Square Garden. Everybody loved it, and it was a tremendous time. But it was the greatest show that Madison Square Garden has ever seen, a lot better than, quite frankly, Billy Joel. And he says he fell in love with an uptown girl, which we call Chuck Schumer also. So we're having a tremendous time. We're getting ready to win bigly tomorrow, and we're very excited about it.
Well, Mr. President, so glad to have you on with Rich Baris and I. I know that you have very limited time, so I want to ask you a question. I'm going to throw it over to Rich if he has something. What are your thoughts on these tired-looking celebrities like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Bon Jovi and Michael Moore making these last-minute hostage video endorsements?
Well, you have Michael Moore, that guy. Well, I want to say something about Michael Moore. I'll say this. He's a fat slob, okay? He is a real-life depiction of, I call her Jabba the Hutt. And I got along very well with a lot of people over there on Tatooine. But Jabba the Hutt's a big guy. And looks a lot like, by the way, Whoopi Goldberg. You know who I'm talking about. I call her. You look at that. You look at that show. Whoopi Goldberg. You look at Whoopi. You look at Joy Behar. You look at people like Chris Christie and Stacey Abrams. I call her, by the way, the Beast of the Southeast. Chris Christie, I call him the Beast of the Northeast. And you look at these people, and I got along very well, by the way, because we're talking about Star Wars, and we could also talk about astronomy. I got along well with Galileo. You may have heard of him, Galileo.
I have.
Galileo. And we were looking through a telescope together. And he said, "Sir, I think I see Uranus." I said, "That's not my anus. It's Chris Christie or Stacey Abrams. We call them the gas giants. You know that? Like Jupiter and Neptune, the gas." And you look at Christie, by the way, and we get along now. We get along well with Tulsi Gabbard. She does the hula. You know, she's from Hawaii, the hula hoop. And Chris Christie tried to hula hoop once. The hoop got stuck. He looked like Saturn. NASA called me one day. They said, "Sir, Saturn is very close to Earth." I said, "That's not Saturn. That's Chris Christie trying to hula hoop." And they said, "Oh, sir, we thought we were going to have a lot of problems."
Rich, we have very limited time with the president. Rich, do you have anything you want to ask him?
Oh, yeah.
Great comedian.
Oh, right. Yeah. You know, apparently, I gotta. I'm sorry, I was so.
He's not going to make it.
He's not
going to. This is, by the way, this is the People's Pundit. We love this guy. Big data poll, and I got to tell you this: nobody has data bigger than I do. I have the biggest data the world has ever seen. Everybody knows it. You know, Marco Rubio on the debate stage said if he has small head, something else must be small. I told him, we don't have that problem. And you look at that type of problem, there's some people who have that problem. I don't have that problem. Little Rocket Man has that problem. A lot of people over there have that problem. I don't have that problem. But we were in the courtroom, remember, the Stormy case, and we had a court case, and you look at the lead witness, his name was Pecker. Could you believe that? They were doing a case about a guy named Pecker, a porn star. You had a gag order. Things were getting they call it kinky in the courtroom. And it was cold, you know that? So Pecker was tiny, but I never have that problem. No. You have big data poll, but I have to tell you, Rich, I have the biggest data the world has ever seen. You know what I'm talking about? I
think he does. Yes.
Listen, I think I do, and I believe it. And you know what? I do have a question to ask you, since everybody on Twitter thinks I'm trying to do it for it anyway. Can I get a job when you get elected, or what?
Well, we're looking at nobody does jobs like I do, and you know, we could look at you. You're a highly respected guy. You know, very highly respected. They call you the People's Pundit, and highly, highly respected. And there's a lot of other people named Rich. We refer to them by a different name, but we would never refer to you. And that name, the other name, by the way, that people refer to Rich, that other name, like Dick Cheney, you know who I'm talking about, gets Buttigieg very excited.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But we love you, Rich. You are a great guy. You really are. You're doing a fantastic job. And there are a lot of people, I know a lot of people, Rich, that are on your feed and they're hitting the refresh button. They're wearing it out. They want to see what you're going to say because you're saying tremendous things and you're doing very well. So maybe we have a job. Maybe we don't have a job, but you're doing one way or the other. You are doing a fantastic job. That much I can tell you.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well,
I think, Mr. President, I'm better served in the private sector. I really appreciate that, though, and all the best to you tomorrow, and good luck.
I'm pulling
By
for
the
you.
way, I want to tell you something too. Nobody has a bigger private sector than I have either. Let me just tell you that.
There's a lot. It can grow. It can grow fast. Hey, Rich. I'm pulling for you on that one, Mr. President. We know you don't have that much more time left. You're on the move, so I have one more question. Then I'll turn it over to Rich, see if he has anything else. But this has been a very, very stressful year for American pets: cats, dogs, squirrels, raccoons. What would you say to any family pets out there who are watching this election with great deal of anxiety? Their lives can hang in the balance.
Well, I have to say this about the pets, okay? There are some really bad hombres that came into our country and they ate the pets. We don't want that to happen. We will save your cats. Nobody grabs pussy cats like I do. You know what I'm talking about. A lot of people say, sir, you're not supposed to say that. I said I was. And that's what I was talking about, by the way, with Billy Bush, but it was out of context. We were saving the cats for a very long time.
Absolutely.
But the cats love me, the dogs, we love dogs. Except, remember this guy, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, and he died like a dog. He died like the kind of dog on Christy Nome's ranch. You're not supposed to say that either. But he died like a dog. We put him down, shamelessly, we put him down. But he died, but we love dogs, right? Beethoven got along very well with both the dog and the composer. Told him how to write music. Air Bud, we love Air Bud, great guy. We love the dogs. We love the cats. The most famous cat in the world, you know which cat that is? It's called, I built it with my own two hands, the Sphinx in Egypt. Got along well with those people. King Tut, strong guy. They wanted to name him. You're not going to believe it. Nobody can believe it. Every time I tell the story, nobody can believe it. King Tut, Tutankhamun, his full name, Tutankhamun. And they said, we want to name him King Tut. I said, sir, you don't want to do that. We already have one of those. His name is Eric Swalwell. He ripped one on live TV. Terrible guy. King Tut. I said, no, you want Tut. He's a great guy. Tut. It's a strong name. They said, sir, great idea. King Tut. I helped him build the pyramids. I helped him build the Sphinx. And now we're hearing about there are Haitian people trying to eat the Sphinx. I can't believe it. But we are doing a tremendous job. We're doing a tremendous job. The pets, the cats, the dogs, the raccoons, got along well with Rocky Raccoon. The squirrels, by the way, they're going after them. We love Peanut. We love Fred. These are great people. And tomorrow when you go into the polls, you're not just voting for yourselves. You're not just voting for me. You're voting for your pets. We're going to save the cats. We're going to save the dogs. And we're going to save the squirrels and the raccoons, too, and all of the other pets you have out there. You know, I got along very well. I did very well with Australia. We love Australia. The kangaroos are great. We love the kangaroos, the wallabies. The dingoes are kind of crazy, but we got along well. These are great people. We love our pets. We love our animals. And under a Trump presidency, your animals will be safe. That much I can tell you.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, good luck tomorrow, sir. Rich, anything you want to say before we get off?
I do. I got one more question. I got to take it a little bit more of a serious note here, though. So let's say you win tomorrow, Mr. President. You think they're going to let you get to January 21st? You fear for yourself?
Mr. President?
So, I'm here. I'm sorry. That was Russia. They hacked it, okay? We can't have that. They are going to try like hell. Or it could have been China, too. I got along well with China. President Xi, you know what we called him? Winnie the Pooh. You're not allowed to say that in China. That's banned. But we are going to do so well. If they don't let me in, we're going to have a lot of problems. and it's going to be like the big bad wolf, little pigs, let me in, and they're going to say, not by the hair of my chinny chin chin, but we're going to huff and puff and blow the house down. You know that. We have the greatest time. We have the greatest opportunity tomorrow. They're not going to make it easy, but we are going to win. That much I can tell you. We're going to make America great again because of people. You know, his name is, quite frankly, I say that a lot. He's a great guy. I say, quite frankly, a lot. It's one of my catchphrases. Rich, the people's pundit, great guy. They're going to make it very hard if I win, when I win, to get sworn in January. But we're going to get sworn in. We're going to take over the White House. We're going to make America great again. I can tell you that. It's going to be tremendous. It's going to be, they call it huge, so huge. And it's going to be bigger than the biggest Big Mac the world has ever seen. You know, I love McDonald's. I did very well there. I got along well with Ronald McDonald. He's a great guy. And they named a new meal after me after they gave me Employee of the Year. You know that? They named a new meal. It's called the McWin, and it comes in small, medium, and MAGA size. And we're going to have a MAGA-sized McWin tomorrow.
Well, please, supersize me, please. Thank you so much for the time. I know that you're on the road, and
What an honor.
all the best to you. Thank you so much, Mr. President.
Well, thank you, guys. Rich, you're doing well. Quite frankly, you're doing very well. We appreciate you, and God bless.
God bless. There you go. Thank you so much. There you go. Well, Rich, what do you? That was something. That was something else, right, Rich?
What an honor, Frank. What an honor.
A great honor. Okay, so, man, I mean,
Hilarious.
hell, that's just. I knew it was going to be a night to remember with you and I, and you know we have a couple of minutes before the top of the hour, so I want to ask you real quick because we had to interject once the president called in, but. When it comes to, I was asking you about New Jersey. I want to ask you about Jersey and Nevada real quick. Like I said, we had these huge rallies. We had a couple of statewide elections that were bucking trends over the last few years. It makes a lot of people want, what is possible in the tri-state area, because even like MSG 2 weeks ago, even that proved that we still have a heartbeat over here under this, the straitjacket that we're wearing. But is there anything to look out for in the tri-state area going into New England, or you think that's going to be par for the course?
I actually don't think it's going to be par for the course, and I think that nothing lasts forever on the electoral map. I tried telling this to people as we went into 2016, and they were fixated on the map of the Bush, dynasty of the 2004 election, and Obama won, but they believed he expanded too far out because he was a historical figure. Romney was able to win back, Indiana, Missouri, and then North Carolina, of course. Well, Barack Obama came very close to Missouri. He didn't get it, though. But, the bottom line is, I think Obama, tried to teach Republicans a lesson that they just really haven't grasped and don't learn, which is political coalitions are never consistent, and they consistently evolve, and they will trick you and surprise you every time. We know this area very well, the tri-state area, and I think we actually had a conversation on your show. We were recently at a wedding, and there were areas where there were Trump signs everywhere that you just never see in northern New Jersey. Trump signs, they just don't belong there. And next to them were the signs for the Democratic congressmen. And, Laura and I, we grew up there. We know this area. We know New York, and it didn't feel like a normal election. I'm not saying he's going to take it, but like, for instance, Frank, Wildwood, I don't know where you went to high school, but Wildwood is the place where basically everybody from, a certain part of New York to a certain part of New Jersey go for their prom, and they're gone for the weekend, and they hang out. It's a party town. This is not a place where Mitt Romney could stroll in and draw 100,000 people. You can't do it. And then there's northern New Jersey up by Bergen and Parsippany, all these areas where they're sitting there, and they are loud. They are unafraid. And I'm telling you that the polls that showed New Jersey was close or single digits. You better get ready for it, because I just got texted pictures and videos from my friends who are in Lakewood, New Jersey, and the one remaining Democratic rabbi who everyone sits around and waits for to tell them who we're going to back this year, said they're going to back Trump. And the lines were huge, and I'm not saying he's going to carry it. I'm just saying it's indicative of something where, Ocean County, I think Dave Wasserman put up on his feed, hey, there's a county that Kamala Harris can carry if we're all paying attention. Monmouth, for instance. You think she's going to carry Freehold and Howell Township? Does he know where Monmouth County, New Jersey is? Barack Obama, one thing. Even Joe Biden, certainly a good fit for a town, like Howell or Freehold. Not a good fit for Lakewood if you're Kamala Harris. Not a good fit for Ocean Grove if you're Kamala Harris. Not a good fit for Bergen if you're Kamala Harris. Just not.
Wow.
And I think that it will be a bit of a shock. And, there are all these arguments that he can win the popular vote but not the Electoral College. Frank, if he was to do that, it's because the tri-state area is much closer, and so are other places.
I was going to ask
that we can draw.
I was going to ask you that in particular about the popular vote. I know that you wrote about the popular vote a little bit in the newsletter, but because the betting market, everybody's looking at Polymarket and MGM Grand, and the edge is going to Republicans. People are wondering from what angle is this a psyop? Because we saw that the Polymarket CEO is chumming it up with Tim Waltz last week in New York. So people are wondering what kind of a psyop is being run with the betting markets. But if you are a betting man, yes or no, do you put $100 down that Trump wins the popular vote?
Well, myself, like everyone else who heard it to us at the end, including I'm looking at you, NBC News, the New York Times, what they did was called herding, which is coming to closer to the results of other people. And we all have Trump on the full ballot, winning the popular vote by about 1 point. If it's head-to-head and nobody else was there, then it would be 50-50, and it would be very close. True toss-up. Could go 3 points either way. But I really do think that Donald Trump is let me put it this way. He is in the best position of any Republican in my lifetime since George W. Bush to win the popular vote. And I have been a popular vote skeptic for many, many years because there's always been this wing of the Republican Party who said, we got to max out the white vote. Well, guess what? There's not enough blood in the white vote stone to squeeze out to win a popular vote win. You must do better with black voters. You must do better with Hispanic voters. You must do better with Jewish voters, Asian voters, Muslim voters. And he looks like he's going to do that. And that is the only thing that explains it's not just me, Frank. Look at the New York Times poll. Look at how close the Northeast is. Why is Rhode Island so close in the most reputable poll in Rhode Island, from the university anyway, poll? Why is it so close at the end here? I've seen Rhode Island close 2 months before the 2016 election. Then it widened out again. I just feel like there's something going on. Catholics, by the way, big vote in the Northeast, obviously. It's not really that close with Catholics at all. So, I feel like he really does have a shot. And for those who have been following me for a long time, that I think, or I did think that it was a fool's errand. It was fool's gold, a pot you're chasing at the end of the rainbow. Just go and win the Electoral College. But he can do it. And also, just to put it this way, his bias because of his coalition in the Electoral College, if he wins the popular vote, it's like less than a 10% chance that he would lose the Electoral College.
Well, Rich, I appreciate the time here tonight. Now, listen, I know you're going to be really, really jammed up tomorrow. We're going to be live from 8 to midnight. If at any time in the 11 o'clock hour you have 5 to 10 minutes just to throw us a bone, keep us in mind. Other than that, I'm going to stay out of your way.
Try to do it. Make time for you. If anyone will, I'm telling you, Frank, she loves you, and if she can technically make it work, she will. And that's always, technicalities.
Either way,
she'll definitely try, brother.
Yeah. Well, so then here's my last question, because aside from making Twitter notifications on your account a priority, what real-time election site would you recommend overall for anybody? Because we're going to be sitting here, sites that are tabulating or receiving votes, that are calling states, whatever. What site should people would you think is the easiest and the most accurate in a real-time setting for people to take a look at, other than obviously following people like you on Twitter?
Well, look, the New York Times looks like they're having some kind of a strike or something. I'm not kidding. And it may impact their election forecast model that they've always had. Look, the Decision Desk HQ earned my loyalty back in 2016. We all knew that Trump had won Pennsylvania. Everyone knew it. MSNBC and their Decision Desk, Fox News and their Decision Desk, they leaned on it because they knew it was the right move. And they called it when we knew it was over. And they did not fight me or anyone else on it because they knew it was right. If you want to support anybody, support the Decision Desk and help them grow. They're fantastic. I really don't know who else to. Real Clear Politics is great, but as far as the results, they'll be slow.
Okay.
All right. So Decision Desk, if not me, Decision Desk, they're great people. You won't always agree with their own point of view. That's not the point. We never do to each other. The point is, can we trust each other to be honest with each other? And Decision Desk is always going to have my loyalty because they have proven just that.
Okay. Well, listen, Rich, you guys go and have yourself a nice sleep and whatever the hell you got to do to prepare for tomorrow. And I'm looking forward to it because, hey, let's just into the fire we go. And thank you for the time tonight. Send Laura my best, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Hopefully we can get you on later in the evening for a quick bumper.
All the best, my friend. Anytime. I'll talk to you soon, okay?
All right, peace.
Later.
There is Rich Baris, the People's Pundit, and I have his locals in the description of the episode. We're going to go on a really quick break now because in about 14 minutes, we're bringing on Shawn Farash. Don't go anywhere. It's going to be fantastic. It already has been.
It's intermission time, folks. Time out to press the like button.
Quite frankly.
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 Quite frankly. Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly, guys.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
So everybody watch. Quite frankly.
Dare you.
Strings, and finally a gigantic break that we all needed. So I hope that was special for you. Let's see here, because I've got a guest coming on soon, and let me get this out of the way. Boom. All right, perfect. I have a message here from the Krasenstein's wife's bull. Krasenstein's wife's bull. Oh boy. Well, you'd have to expect something like this to happen. Love the show, Frank, but can you please tone it down with the Trump talk? I'm trying to have a good time with Ed's wife. That's Ed Krasenstein's wife. Usually he enjoys watching, but tonight he's broke down and bawling in the living room floor, and she's consoling him. Thanks. Yeah, that must be a real buzzkill. I'm sorry, man. It's the day before an election. What am I supposed to do? This is what's on the line. Jay Britz says, happy election eve with Rich Baris and Donald J. Trump. Keep it coming, Frank. Oh, I will. I mean, 2025 is going to be a big one. Anywho, let's go over to Rumble. We got a really nice group of people watching over there on Rumble. Jay Semo says, fantastic show. Very serious tone, but a hilarious interview with Mr. Big. Yes. Oh, yes. It's serious stuff. I'll get to your gold pills in a little bit. Here is something for you. Now, this is something Rich could have spoken about, but we were running out of time, and I want to get this out there. He's spoken in great length about Nevada being in play, and certain counties out there that are usually trending strong for Democrats or at least as of a week or so ago, were completely underwater. But listen to the kind of stuff, again, the messaging that's put out there on NBC. And I want to get to your predictions now, because Shawn Farash is going to come on for about 15 to 20 minutes. Then the rest of it is going to be your calls. We can do lightning round stuff. I just want quick predictions. I'll check the YouTube poll in the chat room again in a little bit. Listen to this. Here's NBC.
So she wins North Carolina. We could be living here in Nevada, waiting and waiting and waiting. And if you remember, Nevada will take a week to count all their votes.
Well, because they go 4 days after.
And you'll have more ballots coming in.
Yeah.
Listen to these weasel fucks talking so as a matter of fact. Listen, Nevada's going to take a week, maybe 2. That's the way it is. This is normal now. This is what we created 4 years ago. Forget about American history prior to 2020. This is it now. There's no going back. We're talking weeks waiting for one state or another. I'm telling you, the best thing that could happen is everybody getting down to flushing out their state governments and just line item vetoing the federal government. Embrace nullification. Let everybody go stick this shit up their ass. The fact that everybody's waiting around for Nevada, North Carolina, or Pennsylvania to see how all of our money is going to be stolen from us illegally, unconstitutionally, spread around the world illegally, unconstitutionally. Oh, it's sickening. It really is. Yeah, there's an objectively better route that we can go through, but geez.
And then you're really going to be used a lot on air because this is going to be lawyers upon lawyers litigating which ballots can get fixed or cured is the language you'll start to see, those provisional ballots. So the nightmare scenario where we're just waiting for weeks, sort of the Florida of 2000, the way.
Yeah, the nightmare scenario. That's it. That's how complicated they made such an easy process. Okay, scoundrels make easy things complicated. That's what they do. Because inside of that margin of chaos are so many different opportunities to just take things. Here's one chick, Tiffany Fong. She's encouraging guys to go out there and vote because less guys go out and they're less motivated to go out and vote than obsessive liberal white women. And of course, there's a big trend on the internet about liberal women going out there to vote for being nothing else other than a nullifying, negating vote against a man out there, whether it be their husband or something else. They just want to be a spoiler and something abortion.
Boys, tomorrow is election day, and us ladies need you to get off your ass and vote for Donald Trump. Apparently, men vote at a much lower rate than women. In fact, of the votes cast thus far, 53% have been women, while only 44% have been men. Moreover, the CEO of Atlas Intel, the most accurate pollster of 2020, says that if white males turn out for Donald Trump on election day, he would win Pennsylvania as well as potentially the rest of the Rust Belt states. This would make the difference between Donald Trump winning or losing the election. So, boys, don't be complacent. This is the most important election in history, and the fate of our democracy is literally in your hands.
Yes, seriously, go out and vote, even if it's just to BTFO that chick that you hated in high school. Just think about her. The girls. Think about the girls that you hated in high school and go out there and vote. Negate their vote, please. Go and do it. Get off your ass just do it. Who cares? Just say that you did it. John Paul Rice wrote this to me. He has an election prediction. He says, my prediction for is chaos. Trump will win, but is denied certification by Democrats in January. He, of course, is winning in almost every single state by a margin of 15 or more points. There is no possible way she's even close, including in New York or California. I've got some crazy stuff for you. I mean, I have this other one over here. We got 6 minutes until Shawn Farash shows up. So let's do Larry Schweikert. Larry Schweikert, this was a very interesting one, and he's very confident. So I think a lot of you will take you'll take comfort in this, at least for the next 12 hours. Larry Schweikert says, looking at the freak out yesterday about Iowa, I figured out what is happening. Let me begin by saying it's far more than the idiot Seltzer fecal poll. That's the one that Rich was just talking about. I had heard these rumors. Then I got a text from a former U.S. congressman. Quote, the pollster I know says Hispanics and women, young people, all breaking hard against Trump. He then gave me numbers like cackles, that's Kamala, I have to imagine, +5 in Arizona or +2 in Florida. Just insane, idiotic stuff. He went on to say how good this pollster had been in the past. It dawned on me, the powers that be know that they are getting absolutely crushed in early voting. In fact, this confirms it. Hence the 3% more women in the Iowa poll. Just look at the Explore on X, and the headlines are all doom spooge. Except, as I explained to him, half of Americans have already voted. Then I gave him the real numbers that I've shown you all. Republicans plus 1.2 million in Texas, with blue areas way down, with Republicans leading by 11 in, quote, low propensity votes cast, end quote. Or Florida, where Republicans are up by 900,000, and Duval, a perfect proxy for Georgia, now over plus 3. Or Arizona, where Republicans are plus 182,600. Yesterday, they are up 180,000 plus yesterday, and will at this rate hit Republicans plus 300,000 at the end of Election Day, with an easy Trump victory and probably a Lake victory as well. Or in Nevada, where I last looked, John Ralston had thrown in the towel with a Republican plus 47,000 lead and gaining with every revision. Then we have the North Carolina numbers, where Republicans led early voting for the first time ever, or Pennsylvania numbers, where Republicans have slashed a 1.1 million Democrat early vote lead in 2020 to a win of 80,000 to 300,000. So from 1.1 million to 300,000. Finally, we have Iowa itself, where it was D plus 12 in 2020, and yesterday Republicans had a 1,500 vote lead. And I'll say it again, these people have already voted. So the latest spin is that, yeah, but they voted for Democrats. Is that really what happened? How many of you know one Republican who voted for Kamala Harris? I don't know a single one. Speaking to GOP clubs in Texas and Arizona, I've yet to meet one. This is obviously a psyop, but to what end? I think the word came down to the hoax media, the hoax pollsters, and the influencers that we are on the cusp of a true Trump blowout. That House seats that weren't in trouble before now are. That's an additional 3 Senate seats are at risk. That cackle stands a good chance of losing the second tier of battleground states, Virginia, New Hampshire, Minnesota, Maine, and New Mexico. That Trump is going to win the popular vote by a sizable margin. This is what they have faced. This is what they faced. They cannot deny the numbers. It's obvious, but they can explain away what those massive numbers mean. That millions have already voted for Kamala. This idiotic twist allows them to persuade their weak-kneed voters who are already not turning out to vote. In short, this was an election day GOTV frantic last-ditch effort to prevent a humiliating defeat and make it marginal enough that they could deny that Trump and his Republicans have a mandate. It won't work. They've already lost. That's very, very optimistic. And I have more to give you on the other side of our interview right now. But we've got a guy that's coming on right now. It's been a long time coming. I have waited a long time to have Shawn Farash on the show. We met and did a few shows years ago on Dark to Light with Tracy, and now he's finally over here hanging out with us on quite frankly, and on the eve of, well, damn, I got you on a great night here, Shawn. How the hell's everything been?
Oh, it has been great. That was we've been having a good time, I can tell you. I'm ready for tomorrow. I hate to say it this way. I'm ready for tomorrow to be over. I don't know. I've been kind of chewing my fingernails down to the bone, refreshing Rich's page as I made, I said, everyone's doing that, right? They're all refreshing Rich's page, because, and here's the thing, a lot of people want to focus on polling and what does polling say? I'm loving, these are my two guys, my go-to right now is Rich Baris and Eric Dougherty. I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name, but the data that is coming in, that's what I care about. Like, I'm a weather geek, and we call it nowcasting, right? When there's a hurricane coming, you watch the models up until you're within like 12 hours, and then who cares what the models say? Watch what the storm's actually doing. I'm not really worried about what polling says. The election is tomorrow, right? I'm focused on what data we've got, and the data we've got in terms of how well Republicans have embraced early voting is extremely exciting. The one thing that remains to be seen is, what does our election day turnout look like? Was there a lot of cannibalizing that went on from the early vote to the election day vote? I happen to think MAGA is going to turn out in a big way tomorrow, and we're going to be very, very happy tomorrow night. That's what I think.
Oh, man, I'll tell you, that would be great, because things were looking really, really good until about 11:30 p.m. In November 3rd or whatever the hell it was, 2020.
It was 4 years ago today. Did you believe that?
Dude, when that other shoe dropped and all of a sudden we started hearing about the burst pipes, we said, oh, no. Oh no, man! It just. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know, and I have it in the description, Shawn Farash, comedian, commentator, the host of the Ungoverned podcast. Hey, Shawn, I don't know if you were listening before, but Donald Trump called into the show. He seems cool as a cucumber, as you would expect.
Yeah, he seemed real. He seemed real chill, right? He was just in rare form, but normal form for him, rare form for anybody else, under 24 hours in the most important election in the history of the country. But that's what we'd expect from him, right? So that's what we got. That's what we got. It's nice to hear.
A New Yorker. And by the way, you're a New Yorker. You're a native New Yorker, but recently moved to Tennessee. And, you know, that's a place in itself that I've given quite a bit of consideration for when the day comes for me as well. But let me ask you this. What finally precipitated the move? Because I remember the first times that we spoke together on Dark to Light, you were really at that time committed to the fight here at the home front in New York for a while. So what was the, all right, it's time to get up and go moment?
So, you know, we were running that grassroots organization, Loud Majority, back on Long Island, and it's still going. And Kevin Smith, who's running it right now, is doing an amazing job, just keeping everybody motivated and engaged. And it's awesome to see that, you know, because it started 4 years ago, and we are 4 years. I mean, I said this morning, I woke up this morning and said 4 years ago this morning, I woke up hungover and confused because Michigan and Wisconsin flipped overnight, and I had no idea what was going on. I was just, you know, so I don't want to relive that. I don't want that to happen again this week. I don't think it's gonna. I think we're going to turn out in a big way. But the inflection point, you know, the point of no return was 2022. The midterms, we fought like hell for Lee Zeldin. I mean, we really, really fought hard, and we came within 6 points. And it was actually that election, and nationwide, where, you know, I started to say it, and a lot of other people started to say it. We got to start embracing all phases of the game to put points on the board. Listen, if it was up to me and I could snap my fingers, we would have 1 day of voting. It would be a national holiday, paper ballots, hand counts, and results by the end of the night. And then, you know, absentee balloting in very limited circumstances and situations. But it's not up to me. And we have to accumulate a series of wins. And while we have this quite, you know, really, when you look at it, ridiculous election season instead of election day, while we have it and we are given all this opportunity to put points on the board, we got to use it. I always say, you know, if you're the hockey team that just decides you're boycotting the first and second period and you're not going to try and score any goals, and you keep going down in the third period, you're down 5-0 every game, and you keep losing 5-3. Well, you're like, well, if only we had played harder in the first and second. Like, we don't need to be that team anymore, right? So, you know, this year, in this election, because I think we've learned from the midterms, it looks like we're trying to play all three phases of the game instead of leave all of our eggs into the third period and rely on that one day to get it all done. And, you know, there is that argument, how many election day votes have been cannibalized, but that doesn't really matter because those points right now, if you want to say that a voter has cannibalized their vote, it's not like the vote goes away. The vote is now banked. It's already on the board. So no matter what happens tomorrow, that vote is there. You don't know how many people who have voted early have a problem tomorrow and look back and say, well, thank goodness I voted early or else I wouldn't have been able to vote today. Yeah. So, I mean, and look, just go back to 2022 Arizona. How many people who skipped early voting wish they would have early voted in Maricopa County and had that whole mess go down? I mean, you're talking about the tens of thousands of people that had to deal with that. So this go around, you know, we're looking at, you know, we're looking at a much better setup. But in New York, you know, it was Zeldin's election, and I decided, my girlfriend, now my wife at the time, moved up with me. We worked on the campaign, and I said, you know, if Lee Zeldin doesn't win, I can't stay here. I just can't do it. It's just too crazy. This government is way too overzealous. I will not enjoy living through 4 years of Kathy Hochul. They take all your money. You know, the cost of living, it's impossible to live there if you're 30-something years old. You just can't do it. You know, it's impossible. So we actually came down to Nashville on election night 2022 and for a Clay and Buck watch party. And Brennan, my wife, she goes, I like Nashville. I said, well, we could think about that if that's where we want to move. If he loses, we lost that night. And so we picked Nashville, Tennessee. And now we're happy in Spring Hill, Tennessee. This is a great state. It's a free state, and it is on track to being one of the most conservative states in the country right now.
I mean, just the financial reasons for going down there alone is what I was like, oh damn. I think I actually think it's the least taxed state in the union, or at least one of them when you think about everything that is just left off. And oh man, I don't know. It's definitely up there. It's in like my top 3. I love Northeast weather, so I'm like, maybe we can make New Hampshire work. But then I'm thinking about I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But you know what? I want to talk to you about something a little bit more heady and a little bit more going into the future on this. And I'd love to have you back for a bigger segment just to talk about things in the future. But my big life takeaway I started thinking about this after the Yankees were officially wiped out of the World Series last week. And my big takeaway, I asked myself, how do you respond when you lose in life? When I was coaching baseball, I found ways to make allegories for life inside of the game and situations you were in. And because this happened to me in 2020, do you become hesitant when you are, when you lose? Do you become hesitant, or do you become driven by a furious desire for improvement? Are you willing to invent new ways to win? Like you were talking about before, in 2018 is when we started seeing what was done to like Reagan County, California, with all the ballot harvesting. And then by 2020, we were into mail voting, early voting, busing, all that stuff. We realized that, okay, well, the American elections are degrading by every cycle. It's degrading worse and worse and worse. But, until it completely bottoms out and collapses into the sea, if you're going to compete, you got to do the same things. So I'm seeing it now. The ballot harvesting, the early voting, the busing, that stuff is being done. And suddenly you're seeing that there's a lot more panic in the media because of it. And on the other hand, how do you respond in life when you win? Do you become contented? Do you try to maintain status quo? Or do you once again become driven by the furious desire to improve and keep your foot on the gas pedal? With that in mind, what do you think going forward? If you lose, if you win, what the hell are we doing?
Well, okay, so the first question, we'll talk about the good, right? Let's say we win tomorrow. And this is something that I've been saying for the last couple of years, actually. And a lot of people have been upset with me when I said it, especially, over the last 2 years, okay? And I'm fine with the criticism here because I love to explain why I say this. We as a movement, MAGA, Republicans, whatever you want to say, right? We as a movement need to think beyond Donald Trump, not to forget him or to overlook this election. But if we win, this can't be the last time that we all participate at this level, right? Like we have to keep going. We can't just, all right, we won 2024 and we got him his second term. He's a 2-term president and my job's done. No, it's not. No, it's only just begun. And for some folks who maybe are older in the electorate, it's time to inspire and pass the torch to the young guys and gals, right? So that they can carry on this legacy, this winning, right? One of the things, I'm a Jets fan, right? One of the things I always say is if we could just win a couple of years, maybe the culture will change. Republicans have been known as being, pretty good losers for a while. I don't want to be known like that anymore. Yep. I want to, I want to change the culture. I want us to be that hardworking party that's always engaged and we can outwork these guys and gals. So we have to think beyond Trump. I'm not saying to overlook this election and start, you're a football team. You're playing a quote unquote bad team this week, and you're looking ahead, and then you lose in a trap game. I'm not saying that. By all means, focus on winning now. But if we win now, and when we win now, we're not done. This is not the end. This can't be, all right, well, we won in a groundswell. You have to take the lesson that you learned that you just beat a machine. You didn't beat Kamala Harris.
Right.
You beat a machine. Right? A machine that has pulled out all the stops to the point where they've called you Hitler, Nazis, garbage, terrorists, all of these things, right? To demoralize you, the polling psyops, the hoaxes in the mainstream media, the censorship, the threats, all of the violence. They have pulled out everything. If we can beat that, we don't have to ever lose again. Like, seriously, if we win this cycle, this election cycle, we don't have to. There's no excuse for us to lose again. I mean, unless we're running historically unpopular candidates. but we should be able to outwork these guys and gals, right? So if we win, we have to look at how we won and keep replicating that process and use that as motivation. Say, okay, yeah, our elections are terrible, right? They're not run well, and election integrity is a huge issue in this country. But we need to accumulate more wins, fix those problems, and really put this country on the right track, because it's not going to get fixed in just 4 years. The bleeding will stop, but the rest of the surgery, the rest of the fix, the rest of the repair ain't going to get done in 4 years. We're going to need 8 to 12 straight years of good America First leadership to get this country back where we want it. Now, if we lose, that's what I'm afraid of, because I feel like we've all put so much into this, and I hope I'm wrong, that if we don't get the result that we're looking for tomorrow, I'm not saying we need to be happy about it, but we can't become despondent and dejected and throw our hands up and say, well, if we couldn't win then, we're never gonna. You have to keep swinging. If it doesn't go well tomorrow, I think the silver lining is you're looking at a West Virginia Senate seat flipping. You're looking at Ohio probably flipping. You're looking at Montana probably flipping. And as long as Ted Cruz holds on to his race in Texas, maybe you get one or two more. But if those are the only Senate flips that we get, you're dealing with a 52 seat majority in the Senate, right? And you could block all of the crazy legislation that they're going to try and ram through. If we had won the Senate in 2020, a lot of that, the Inflation Reduction Act, all these things, that might not have ever come to fruition. Okay. So if we do lose, but we have that firewall in the Senate, it's possible that we can gridlock a Kamala Harris administration for that first 2 years and really get our act together in the midterms. The question just remains, how engaged will people be if we get to that point after a potential loss like this? I don't want to keep talking about losing, because I don't think we're going to, but I've been saying the same 3 words over and over and over and over and over for the last week. Nobody stays home. That's it. I don't want to hear it. There are so many people who have made excuses. Well, I didn't vote because so-and-so had to go to soccer practice. No, voting is more important than so-and-so's soccer game. I hate to break it to you, but it is. And if you knew so-and-so had a soccer game on election day, then you should have early voted. Everybody needs to vote. And those who have already voted, we got to be out there helping other people get to the polls. I've already said it on a number of occasions. If there's anybody in any state who can't get to the polls, my DMs are open. I will literally buy you an Uber to get back and forth to the polls. I'm not playing, right? This is not a game. So to quote Joe Biden, it's not a joke, man. Right? Like this is serious time. Nobody stays home. If we show up and everybody participates, we're going to win. I know it. The groundwork has already been laid. The data suggests that if we have a typical Republican turnout on election day tomorrow, we're going to win. And we're going to know tomorrow night that we won. And we're going to have our guy. And we could talk about scenario number 1 where we say, all right, we won and we don't ever have to lose again if we always work this hard. It's tiring. It's not easy, but it's not supposed to be easy. Saving your country is not supposed to be easy, right? So if we lose, we've got the Senate, we've got the pressure and the power of the people. We've got to be on the phone calling our senators like every day, making sure that they're not selling us up the river, in the Senate. If we win, then we need to stay engaged, right? Because they're going to throw hoaxes and investigations and all sorts of crap. It's going to be like the first term. Stay engaged and make sure that we help this guy, Donald Trump, who took a bullet for us. He didn't have to do it. He took a bullet for us to lead our country back to prosperity and to set us up for a golden age. If we win, we have to stay engaged. If we lose, we have to stay engaged. But tomorrow, first and foremost, nobody, not a soul, stays home tomorrow and decides they don't want to vote or their vote doesn't matter. You have to take this mentality into when you wake up in the morning, if you haven't voted yet, you are the deciding vote in the 2024 election. I don't care if you're in blood red Idaho or Tennessee or Florida. You are the deciding vote, period. That's the message. Nobody stays home, and vote as if if you stay home, that'll be the reason why we lose. Get out, vote, get other people to the polls, execute that game plan, bring people out, drag people with you kicking and screaming, but get those points on the board, because if we all participate, if we all show up, and if nobody stays home, we will win.
Wonderfully said. And it's funny when you bring that up, because 8 years ago, I coined the phrase that what we had with Donald Trump is the wrecking ball, and we need that wrecking ball. Everything, a paradigm was in complete need of shattering. Okay, blunt force trauma, a blunt instrument. You know what you wanted from there. I said it's going to be the combination of the wrecking ball and the surgeon, the wrecking ball and the scalpel. And what we have right now is, at the end of this 8 years, whether we have 4 more years of Trump or I don't want to talk about the downside of what can happen. Yeah, to hell with that. But the thing is, what you're saying right there is that this is the time when the surgeon needs to show up, the scalpel. We need to start understanding and taking for example, walk away. Walk away is filled with millions of people at this point who just are conscious enough to know that whatever the hell is going on at the DNC, and even to a great degree at the RNC, but Donald Trump is a third-party ticket in itself that is kind of like burrowing itself inside of the Republican Party at this point, because both parties are terrible. So he's become like a third-party ticket that's there, that people have at least started talking again, they've become interested. The key that we will learn with self-education is that the key is not the presidency going forward. That if there is a real chance of making America truly great and looking like the way it was chartered to exist, that's going to come from understanding states' rights, the 10th Amendment, and nullification. And that right there will save everything. That's the big, that will save us from these contentious, every 4 years our lives are on the line. Who the hell needs to live like that every 4 years? And that's what I'm saying. As long as a paradigm is broken, if there's opportunity, when in 2016, I was hoping that we got a couple of really good Supreme Court picks out of Donald Trump, and that he just threw a monkey wrench into the gears to buy us time, so that we can start regrouping and focusing on something other than winning the White House every 4 years. You can't keep that up forever, especially when you're competing against scoundrels. They're going to find some way to break or bend the rules. So it's so true. You're talking about planning for that time after Trump. Hopefully it's 4 years from now, because that means we'll probably have 4 more years of wind resistance, buying time. But that day is coming where we're going to have to, ride the bike without the training wheels again. And we got to educate in the meantime, because all the organization from here on in has to be on the state level.
Oh my gosh, I'm so happy you said that. I was talking with a local state rep yesterday on his radio show here in Tennessee. He's out of Rutherford County and the Murfreesboro area. And we were talking about the importance of being involved in your local stuff. When I was on Long Island, we were running Loud Majority, in the fall of 2021, in the school mom revolution, we called it, right? Because of mask mandates and the DEI that was seeping into the curriculum, and vaccine mandates looming. We got a super majority of legislators in Suffolk County on Long Island, Republican. We had a Republican district attorney, Ray Tierney, who wound up solving the Gilgo Beach serial killer case in 2 years, right? We wound up getting a county executive in Bruce Blakeman in Nassau County elected. A Republican in Nassau County being their county executive was unheard of. A Republican district attorney out there, to the point where when Blakeman was sworn in, we threw him a rally called Back the Bruce, because he promised before he was sworn in to make Nassau County a mask-free county, right? So you can go there. And I lived on the county line in Suffolk. I did all my shopping in Nassau. I didn't want to wear a mask. That's who got my business, right? So, when you organize at the state level, and there are so many people, right? They want the voter ID. They want elections to be run the right way. And they're looking at that federal government, one size fits all. You don't want that. Trust me, you don't want that, right? And you say, well, why don't I want that? Well, because if you give the federal government the power, let's say, to mandate voter ID, how long do you think that power, that that very broad power, when this is supposed to be 50 state elections and the states decide how their elections are run, how long do you think it's going to be till the federal government gets rid of that electoral college? How long do you think that it's going to take before the federal government assumes more power off of that precedent, right? But if we organize at the state level, okay, and there are some states that are never going to do it, okay, New York, California, it might take a long time, but a place like Kentucky, a place like North Carolina, a place like South Carolina, if you want to work in these states, right, and organize there and become symbols and examples of election integrity or whatever it is, medical freedom, whatever it is, Second Amendment, First Amendment, religious freedom, anything, you can do it at the state level and show the rest of the country, hey, we did it here and it worked really well. Look at Florida, right? Look at Tennessee. You say, Tennessee, oh, well, you just mentioned it. It's one of the lowest tax states in the country. Some people go, oh, the government must have no money. We run a surplus in this state, a surplus, and we don't have to take people's money out of their income. Our sales tax is a little higher, but our property taxes are nice and low. You know what it is? We have responsible leadership. And Governor Lee is far from perfect, but we have responsible leadership. We have a responsible state legislature. We have responsible, county leadership as well. So if you organize at the county level, at the state level, the federal government is irrelevant. It is your state government's job to protect you against an administration like we had here with Biden Harris. Look at DeSantis. Okay. I didn't support him in the primary. Love him as a governor, though. He protected his state from the Biden Harris overreaching craziness that affected so many other states in this country. He protected them. He shielded them. Right. Tennessee, same type of deal. Kristi Noem, same type of deal, right? And in several other cases, Abbott to an extent in Texas, right? Your state government, your local government exists to protect you. They serve you. You don't serve them. And the more we realize that and act like it, right? Act like they are our servants. Don't be jerks. All right. You can tell them when they're doing something wrong, but also if they vote nicely on a bill, call them and say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Representative, thank you for voting in favor of that. So they don't hate hearing from you. Yeah. Right. That's the best way forward. That is the best way forward. Let's win this federal election. Let's start cleaning out the federal government, Department of Government Efficiency, Ron Paul, Elon Musk, Donald Trump, RFK. Go for it. I mean, you don't have to sell me on Ron Paul. I love Ron Paul, Liberty Defined, one of my favorite books. But the federal government cannot be the end all be all. It's your state and local government that really matters. Your school board matters more than the president of the United States in several situations. Your kid comes home with a book that's got pornographic imagery in it. What are you going to write a letter to Trump? He can't do anything, and he shouldn't be able to do anything. It's not his position to do it. He's a federal officer. He's the chief executive of the United States government. He has no business reaching down into your county and saying, get rid of that book. That's not his job, and it shouldn't be his job. That's too much power. Yep. It's your job. It's your school board's job. And if your school board's not doing the job, guess what? Step up, or someone's got to step up and make it happen. I got a couple of friends who came here from California, just met them in Tennessee, Wilson County. And they moved here from California and saw the same type of stuff happening in their county. Not 6 months after moving here, the guy ran for school board against a very popular school board candidate, was told he was going to lose, he has no chance, and won by 10 points. Things are a lot better in that district because he took initiative and did it. That's what we got to do. You see us, if you see us defeat this machine tomorrow night, if we could defeat that federal machine, you could do anything at the local level. Anything. Just organize with your friends. Get together. That's the way to do it. And make this government work for us again, because it's been getting to the other way around, and that's not the way it's supposed to be.
Well, Shawn, I can't thank you enough for coming on. It was a quick hit tonight, but man, you're speaking my language. And this is what I told. This is the kind of thing that I told Brandon from Walkaway. I said, this is the next phase of Walkaway, man. You've got to get people education on separation of powers and what our federal government is actually supposed to be. It was designed to be, pretty much useless. Yeah, pretty much useless in almost every way outside of regulating international trade and national defense and the post office. It is. I mean, this is it. And I'm looking forward to every, going forward from here, 2025. It'll be great to have you on doing quick hits on things and And
Sure.
yeah, please let everybody know where to find you. I'll make sure that your URL is in the description, but I had your Twitter up on the screen a couple of times. Let people know how often you update the podcast, everything.
Yeah, so Ungoverned is live streamed on rumble.com/LFATV. We got this here. This is the channel. LFATV is the channel. It's powered by the people. It's an amazing network. Jeremy Harrell is the founder of the network, and we're going to have some cool election coverage tomorrow. But the show also runs on my X, which is the best feed to find me. I post a lot. I like to reply to a lot of people. I'm not one of these people who just posts and runs. I love to get into conversations. A lot of people bring up really great points, and I love having conversations with everybody. My DMs are open. I don't check them all the time, but they're open. If you need help tomorrow getting to the polls, I'm not joking. Send me a message. We'll figure something out. I want every single point to get on the board. And to your point, Frank, Make America Great Again is awesome. I love it. It's been one of the best movements I've ever been involved in since 2016. But I really love this idea of make government small again, right? Let's make government small again and return it back to the people. That's where we have the power. That's where it should rest. It should be resting in our hands. So I say, let's make America great again tomorrow. Make government small again going forward.
Wonderful way to leave off. Have yourself a great night. Have a great election day. We'll be in touch, and all the best to the family.
Thanks, you too.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it as well. Okay, guys and gals, listen, I know the way it is. I want to take your calls. I saw someone say, Shawn is, he's pretty idealistic, all that stuff. This is not idealism. This is constitutional America. If talking this way, and I know, is it a long shot? Could it be done without it all being razed to the ground? Some act of God at this point? The only thing you can do is act on what is our natural state, and that is ground up thinking and acting local. That's it. That is not just an out of touch pie in the sky ideal. I mean, this is the only thing that we were ratified to be. That's the ideal. It's codified. It's law. It's not an ideal. It's codified. You say, oh, well, the Constitution's an aging old piece of paper. Well, yeah, if you look at it that way, if you look at it as an out of touch ideal that can't apply to us, that's how the progressives look at it too. It's living and breathing, and needs to be updated. We can't be defeatist on this. That was traditional American approach to governance right there. That was traditional American civics. I hope it's embraced more, and it's looked into a lot more, because there's a lot that could be going our way soon, and I can't wait. I like the idea of working and learning, and some days I feel more optimistic than others, but it's at least good to know. And it's at least good to know why we're here, why this was all set up the way it was. And if it doesn't go that way, then fine. Then we have to just, that's the name of the game. It's a war, after all. Very few rules in wars anymore. Let's see here. Gino on quite frankly superchat.com says, Francis, like Grace said, hard to escape the feeling of impending doom, but we've got to keep our hope and keep praying. This world will feel very different after tomorrow, one way or another. Love to you, Lauren and Aurora, and rest in peace, Matt, if necessary. I think Matt's going to be here tomorrow. I think he said that he would stop by sometime after 8:30 to say hello. And I don't know. I think you guys really got through to him on Friday. He seemed to have softened a lot. I think that he's holding on to his life beyond this election. I sure hope so. I don't think that Donald Trump would find any utility in him offing himself. So I think I'll give you guys the credit for that. Let's see here. Running on Empty says, I can't believe you had President Trump on without Matt there. Maybe he'll call again when Matt's there and he wins. Listen, I tried. Okay, I don't know if you've noticed, but Matt missed like the 3 out of the last 4 Fridays. I tried to align that in a certain way. I knew that he would like it, and what am I going to do? Just didn't work out that way. But anyway, I'm sure he'll be happy to know that he should called in tonight. Carly Tebb says Minnesota Somali leader was asked in an interview, why would Somalis vote for Republicans when they're currently getting taxpayer fund handouts by Democrats? And the answer, you have to decide whether handouts are more important than your faith, your tradition, and your values. Duh. That was always going to be a very short-sighted trade-off. You know, it's one thing when you want to undermine demographics and you want to be able to implant people from a faraway land into here, and you want to give them things to set them up, a house, money, food, anything that's going to command loyalty, at least for a while. But these people don't give up their cultures. Not like Americans have been trained to do. We've been taught it was virtuous to give up, what made us who we are, especially our faith. That was always going to be something. I mean, in Minnesota, where we start seeing everybody just exasperated because Muslim majority towns with city councils and all that stuff are not very warm to LGBT, gay pride parades and all that stuff. Like, oh, but we were there for you, you dummies. We were there for you. I can't believe this. Carly also says, I'm afraid the MSM will call the election for Kamala without evidence of her actually winning, and the world will just go with it despite the abundant evidence to the contrary, just like 2020, which was traumatizing in a weird sort of way. Frank, hold me. I'm holding you, Carly. I'm holding you. Yep, I know. It was traumatizing in a very passive-aggressive, again, I always think of like a dungeon. We're tied to a gurney. And it's not like we have these maniacal, torturers, these executioners that are dancing around us and just hacking us up with axes and shit like that. These are the sick, sadistic people who, caress your face as you're being just like, does it hurt? As they take off a fingernail. Like it's sadistic. That's what the media is. Where the smirking dismissiveness. That's what it is. I see it that way. That's always the way it comes across with me. Over on QuiteFrankly.tv, Robert Sarnes leads off the Gold Pill Parade. Thank you so much for the cookie, my friend. Let me see here. Cookies. Boys Blanc. Neo says, love the Bulletin, Frank. Our boy Cave Toads edition was fun. Please, after the election, I'll let you know what we're looking for as far as contributions from the audience for December. But please, if you are a sponsor, go and read it, because you're the only ones who get to read it. And I definitely want you to enjoy that stuff, because this is something I can see really being representative of the show for a larger people. It's so well put together. I can't stress it enough. Witchy Poo, thank you. Hemi Lou, thank you. The Sentinel says, great show, and thanks for bringing in Mr. Big to give us those laughs. Chatty KC says, love the vibe. Thank you, Chatty. Captain Flint says, hope springs eternal. And Stevie B, perhaps one of the best, quite frankly, shows I've seen so far. Looking forward to tomorrow's show. It should be a nice night. Hanging out with some good friends, plenty of stuff to talk about, plenty of things to be excited about. It's history. I mean, you get to sit back and count yourself present for history, and in a small way, take part in it, both in a civic sense and also in a new media sense, because we're not going to be huddling around the television set listening to Wolf Blitzer bumble his way through one thing or another, Jake Tapper, drooling all over himself. We'll be here. We'll be taking calls. We'll be just watching what's going on. We'll be venting together. We'll be, gnawing on each other's fingers, whatever the hell else. That's it. All right, let me go to the chat. We're going to end the poll now on Quite Frankly YouTube. It has garnered about 1,100, a little over 1,100 votes, 1,164 votes in the chat on the YouTube. The question was, who wins when all is said and done? Trump, Harris, Trump has 74% from this audience. I can't believe it. Harris, 4%. People think that we're going to have to live with that. And then 22% said, I don't know, Frank, hold me. So we'll be doing a lot of holding tomorrow. What do you want me to say? I'm ending that. The poll is done. And I'm glad that that's the way it happened. All right. Is that all I Oh, wait, hold on. We have 4 minutes. So I have listen to this prediction. Listen to this prediction. This came in from, it's an astro prediction from my friend Mike. And I think it's out there, but what the hell do I know? Stranger things have happened and will happen. He said, according to my work, Trump wins, but not officially declared due to voter problems. Biden dies or has a stroke, and Kamala is POTUS. Convenient civil disturbances. Media blames Republicans. Democrats claim victory. Trump inauguration delayed a few months into 2025. Texas secedes. There is a successful secession. Texas secedes with 30 states, with Trump as the president of the United States and a new flag. Meanwhile, during the above, Russia takes over Ukraine and the Middle East war worsens. Well, that sounds like a very interesting Valentine's Day. Good golly, Miss Molly. Well, tomorrow we'll be taking, it's 8:57 now. There's no time for your calls, but you know what? There's going to be plenty of time for calls tomorrow. I want to know how you guys are seeing it as it's happening. Thoughts, predictions, jokes, whatever the hell it is. I appreciate you all. And then there is also the question that I'll leave for you all again. What do you do? How do you respond in life when you lose? How do you respond? Do you become hesitant? Do you become driven with a furious desire for improvement? Are you willing to invent new ways to win? Okay? And then on the other hand, which I think is equally more important, if not more so, how do you respond in life when you win? Do you ease off of the gas pedal? Do you ease off of the gas? Do you become contented? Do you try to maintain the status quo? Or do you once again become driven by a furious desire to improve? That's it. Especially, like I said, I was thinking about that in the aftermath of the Yankees losing the World Series, because that's the difference between ball players. And this is a metaphor for everybody, not just baseball talk. I promise you that. Just expand it with me. You know, the Yankees used to have ownership and team leaders who were furious when they lost. Derek Jeter was furious. I loved watching Paul O'Neill smash things in the dugout when things didn't go right. I loved it because at least you feel that's galvanizing right there. You know? I loved it. It makes you deal with it. It's like, okay, all right, we're still pumped. Let's go back to the drawing board. Let's keep the pedal to the metal, no matter what the hell happens. And I'll see you guys tomorrow night, 8:00. All right? 7:00, we'll just be chilling out over here, getting the atmosphere nice and nice, just whatever. But we'll go live at 8. We'll cruise for a while. We'll bring in some friends we'll be calling in, and I hope many of you are here for it. So thank you guys and gals so much. Thank you to our guests this evening, both Rich and Shawn, and thank you to the President of the United States for calling in. That was wonderful. Wonderful to do that. Really marked the time. And good night to everybody. As far as after hours go, none tonight, because John Carroll, who is our engineer, is actually en route to New York. He's going to be in studio for this tomorrow night, so he's probably somewhere halfway through Pennsylvania right now. It'll be a fun time, and yeah, we'll resume after hour programming probably later on this week. I'm looking forward to it. Good night.
I'll catch you on the flip side. Fuck!